Hey folks, MasakoX here. So back in 2016, back when I had just managed to find a sort of rhythm for this channel as you know it, I had come up with a video about this topic. How do you make the Dragon Ball Z movies canon? It did its job, and since we've done over 1,000 videos after that one, I had obviously forgotten about it. But thanks to our weekly roundtable live streams, yes Podo, I know you're watching, they're weekly again, thank you. One of our viewers, Liga Fox, pitched this idea, and it got the cogs in my head turning. Oh yeah, I did something like that before, but I wasn't as knowing about the series as I am today. And I also didn't have Haverock to bounce ideas off of. So I wanted to come back to this idea and see what we could do just over 5 years later. See whether this version of events in Dragon Ball Z might be better than the first one. And you know what? I think we're feeling frisky here. We're not just going to be bringing the movie characters into the main timeline and have them work with the regular villains or whatnot. No. This will be a place where they are the sole contributors. They are here instead of the likes of Freeza, Cell, Boo, etc. Okay, so how would this all work? Movies 1 through 13 would end up being their own individual sagas. And yes, before you mention it, we do know that the Battle of Gods and Resurrection F movies are technically Z ones, since they have the name in the title. Totally not for the sake of using the DBZ name for attention, right? No. But they are attached to the main original timeline in one way or another, so thusly, they are consigned to the bin for this video. There is another rule that we will introduce later on. You'll see what we're getting at when we get there. So we start with the Deadzone Saga, the story that begins Dragon Ball Z properly. That is until Raditz doesn't show up. But yeah, the Deadzone Saga stays exactly the same as the original movie. Wait, I thought this was meant to be an all-changing idea, Masako. Why doesn't this change too? All our memes aside, the first DBZ movie was actually kinda good at picking up where we left Son Goku and Piccolo's story from the original Dragon Ball. Here's why. First of all, you have Gohan's introduction here, you have the continuation of the Kami storyline right after the revelation of King Piccolo, and you have Piccolo and Goku's rivalry still going strong. And of course, the Krill Dog. Yeah, it can stay the way it is. Maybe you could add some more character building filler for good measure, just to bulk out the story and add stuff that wasn't present in the manga. But this is one of those stories that doesn't really require much change to work. Well, I never thought I would say this about anything containing Garlic Jr., but here we are. Then we have the World's Strongest, which is a harder nut to crack. You see, some of the character relationships are established to be post-Saiyan Saga. Already, there's a problem. In this timeline, we don't have much that happened in the Saiyan Saga here. We don't have Kaioken for Goku to rely on. Can we solve this conundrum without it? Where Goku had to rely on Kaioken times 3.5? Also remember, no Saiyan plot twists either. At least not yet. But first and foremost, how does our hero get past Dr. Wheelo and Cochin? Well, we could be cheeky and cheat, swapping movies 2 and 3 with each other in the timeline, which would make things much easier, but we're not cheaters here, so we have to deal with our lot and our original mission statement. Basically, this storyline has to be made into a longer saga, which would mean that the Bio-Men and Bio-Warriors would have a larger role than in the movie. We can basically make it so they ambush and kidnap Dragon Ball era warriors like Nam or Ranfan, while searching for a suitable body for their mysterious master. Roshi's luster in this version isn't immediate, and is the catalyst that brings our heroes into the story, rather than him being the only option for Wheelo. Now since Gohan doesn't have his mentor-pupil dynamic with Piccolo yet, we might perhaps instead give the boy a little semblance of a fascination with the demon. Like, he knows of him, but nothing about him. Not really, but he intrigues him. So perhaps we could give Gohan here a sort of rebellious streak. Give Chi-Chi a headache. Quite frankly, the way she behaves, she deserves it. He sneaks out one day to watch Piccolo train, which is when they both get ambushed by Bio-Men. Of course, they are no challenge for Big Green, which causes the boy to idolize him even more. Piccolo, who at this time still isn't the nicest guy to be around, decides to secretly train Gohan just to spite Goku, instead of doing it for the sake of world domination and then later a sense of duty. Chi-Chi notices that her son has become less focused during his study, and starts to worry about him. But she quickly figures out that something is definitely wrong when he keeps leaving home to play in the forest all too often. But before she can talk it out with him, she gets kidnapped by Bio Warriors, who have her on their list of strong fighters. Gohan, when he finds out that Chi-Chi was kidnapped, decides to chase after them, with Goku being away at this time. He follows them to Dr. Wheelo's lab, where Kochin is preparing to host an illegal tournament to determine who will be the most fitting host for his master. Of course, their characters do not know that that's the reason why they were kidnapped, why they're there. They're told instead that, oh, they're just here to fight and the victor gets to live their freedom, whilst the others would either be imprisoned or die. Goku gets pretty worried that his family has now just suddenly vanished when he gets home. Who else would be there to cook the food for him? And heads to Bulma's for guidance, where he then learns that something weird is happening at Kame House at the same time. After Roshi and Krillin fight through legions of Biomen, the Bio Warriors are sent after them. The Master and two students defeat them, and thanks to Bulma overhearing the name Wheelo, they know where to look. Meanwhile, Gohan frees Piccolo, and together they fight off Wheelo's robots and then fight Kochin. However, he proves to be a much more powerful opponent than he looks, but Goku and the others do come to save the day. Together, they liberate the kidnapped warriors, and they all face Dr. Wheelo head on. He is taken down by a combined attack from everyone, including that iconic master-student Kamehameha. Chi-Chi is naturally angry with Gohan for defying her wishes, and promptly grounds him for quite a long time. And although Piccolo is not going to admit it, he does grow fonder of the boy. Something which will be quite vital during the Tree of Might saga. So remember when we mentioned something about that third rule at the beginning? Here's what it is. Well, movie-only villains means no Vegeta. Oh no! And already some of you think that we hate Vegeta, so this really doesn't help our cause now, does it? But we promise that that isn't the case. It's just the hand that we've been dealt with, honest! The fact of the matter is that Vegeta starts out his journey as a villain of the original timeline, so we can't help it here if we want to stick to our own rules. But yeah, back to the Tree of Might. Initially, Kakao and Daiz are the only ones sent to Earth to scout it for a suitable location to plant said Tree of Might, and they prove to be dangerous opponents. And although the combined might of Piccolo and Goku is able to take them down, to actually destroy the dangerous cyborg, Piccolo has to special beam cannon them both. Basically, Kakao and Daiz are the Raditz equivalent of this story. And yeah, Goku has to do his full Nelson. Goku then gets to train with King Kai, Piccolo kidnaps and trains Gohan, whereas Yamcha, Krillin, Chaozu and Tenshinhan train as well. TURLES returns for a second bite of the fruit of the tree, with a strong sense of revenge. But first, the heroes who remained on Earth are confused, thinking that Goku has reincarnated as some sort of evil guy. They have to fight the Beans twins first as well, and they actually succeed. But Amon proves to be too much for them. What is pretty important though, is that he doesn't kill anyone, as Goku is there to finish him off. TURLES drops a whole exposition about Goku's heritage. Here is when we find out about Saiyans for the first time, and the two duke it out. While our protagonist initially wins, the pirate captain has to resort to the fruit from the Tree of Might, as he plants the seed and eats the fruit. Goku is able to destroy the tree, meaning that the planet is safe from the fullest extent of the tree's parasitic ways, but it does wreak havoc on the Senzu Bean life cycle, meaning that the next batch of them are unusable. Basically, it's the Goku-Vegeta fight, even down to the giant monkey form. And just as with Vegeta, Goku asks Krillin to spare TURLES, who gets away. Everyone slowly recovers from this ordeal, but soon afterwards, Earth gets attacked again, this time by Slug. Now in this continuity, Slug is a much more serious threat here, and King Kai reveals a lot about the Namekians through Goku, which is a turning point for Piccolo's development. The former Demon Prince manages to take Commander Zeon down, and some of the other minions as well, but Slug still manages to get the Dragon Balls. He tried to convince Piccolo to join him, since he is a Namekian as well, but our Slug Boy is having none of it, still maintaining a facade of wanting to take over the planet himself, but that desire is now just a mere shadow of its former self. Seeing that Mr. Piccolo is in danger, Gohan decides to step in himself, between the two fighting the Namekians, and Slug attempts to blast the boy to get him to shut up. As a result, Piccolo sacrifices himself to save the boy, but Giant Slug is a total beast, him stomping Yamcha, Tenshinhan and Chaozu in one swift move. Goku has to fight him on his own, and he was already still recovering from his meeting with TURLES, since the Senzu Beans were not an option right now. He had to do it the hard way. Ultimately, we still get the first hint of Super Saiyan, that falsy thing, and Slug dies from the Spirit Bomb. Our heroes then learn about Namek from Mr. Popo, and use Slug's old ship in order to find said planet. The ones going are Goku, Gohan, Krillin and Bulma. Now, they don't know that the ship's communications were being listened in on by two parties. First, Cooler's force, and of course TURLES. The Saiyan is now on his own, with no more seeds from the Tree of Might to rely on, so you can probably tell that he's a little bit desperate at this time. Both see the real prospect of the Namekian Dragon Balls quite tempting, and after a long while, everybody arrives on Namek and start collecting the orbs. After some fights with TURLES, our heroes conclude that they should probably bury the hatchet right now and, work together, since they learn about Cooler, who is obviously a much bigger threat at this point to everybody. Also, instead of the Ginyu Force showing up, we have Cooler's armored squadron, and they're really deadly. After the fight, Goku needs some urgent medical attention, and as I mentioned before, no sensu. They do manage to defeat the squadron eventually, but barely. They do manage though to bring back Piccolo and summon him to Namek. He fuses with Nail, who is badly beaten up after his encounter with Cooler. Basically, Nail was getting his time to shine whilst our heroes were busy collecting Dragon Balls. Hey, come on, some original story beats need to happen. Otherwise, telling a story about Dragon Ball without the iconic characters would be almost impossible or not true to Toriyama's vision. Piccolo is able to hold his own against Cooler, but he transforms into his fifth form, wrecking the Namekian. Goku, however, is back to save the day, and has a climactic duel with Cooler. And just as it looks like he has won, Cooler comes back with a revenge and kills Krillin. This triggers the true Super Saiyan transformation. Meanwhile, Kami and King Kai manage to gather the Dragon Balls on Earth, saving everyone on Namek. And Goku is able to push Cooler into the sun and flees to Yardrat. As in the original, he wishes not to be summoned back to Earth for the time being, to focus on his training. Sometime later, Cooler is back with even more revenge, and in doing so manages to bring the big Getter to the Earth. TURLES, who grew closer to Bulma and is staying on Earth as well, is helping with the efforts against Cooler, but even himself, Gohan and Piccolo are not enough. They are, however, saved by a mysterious black-haired individual with a sword, who dismantles Metal Cooler and his army of mechanical clones easily. And for good measure, Goku returns to help him finish the job. The boy reveals himself to be Trunks. He is the son of TURLES and Bulma this time around, not Vegeta and Bulma. He warns Goku about his future demise from the heart virus, and that 3 androids are going to attack in 3 years. Everyone decides to train for this future event, and the future Half Saiyan will come back in time to aid them as well. Now, one thing to point out here, which is quite notable, is that TURLES, here, is a better dad than Vegeta was. He still isn't best dad material, as he tries to figure out the Super Saiyan transformation for himself instead of parenting properly, but he at least acknowledges the infant Trunks. For a Saiyan, he's really good. And sure enough, as it was foretold by Trunks, the androids attack. Initially, there are only 2, 14 and 15, but still, our heroes are outmatched. This quickly changes when Super Saiyan TURLES enters the fray though. But they mistake him for Goku, because they look similar, then revealing their main goal to him, which was eliminating Son Goku. But this fake Son Goku seems to be too much for them, and they decide to retreat. Their leader, Android 13, is a much stronger threat, and whilst Goku is dealing with the heart virus, he is able to take down TURLES and the others by achieving his Super Android 13 form. Unlike in the movie, however, he is able to break from his programming and destroys Jiro's supercomputer. In this timeline, Jiro had passed away not long ago, before the saga started, from natural causes. So you could say that Super 13 is the perfect cell of this timeline. He decides that he wants a good challenge, so he allows the heroes to train a little bit, before he will destroy the planet. Goku is healed and reveals the hyperbolic time chamber to the group, where TURLES, future Trunks, and later himself and Gohan are able to train. The combined might of 4 Super Saiyans seems to be enough to take the android down. However, there is a new threat brewing in the background, as King Kai asks Goku to investigate what has happened that caused South Galaxy to just disappear. Meanwhile, TURLES, Trunks, and Gohan all get invited by Paragus to New Vegeta. Apparently, he is rebuilding a new Saiyan colony there, and he wants them to be a part of it. TURLES is quite tempted at this invitation, but neither Gohan or future Trunks are interested. He also introduces them to his son Broly, and Goku later rejoins them, and during some bickering with TURLES, Broly gets stoked and goes into his traditional and classic rage. Classic. The Saiyans are fighting this monster of a Saiyan, which seems to be beyond their capability, and during a climactic encounter, Broly kills Goku, which is the thing that sparks Super Saiyan 2 within Gohan. In a dramatic effort, Gohan manages to scrape a win from this, and seemingly destroys Broly. Goku does not wish to be revived still. His experiences with the androids, as well as Broly's anger from his own name, makes him realise that it's probably time for him to pass the torch on to the next generation. Next, Bojack happens, and it's basically the same as the movie, except Hercule is only the world champ here instead of something more, but takes an interest in the young Gohan all the same. The only notable difference here is that Krillin does hook up with Zangia, because there's no Android 18 in this timeline. So yes, my friends, that pairing comes to bear. Future Trunks returns to his own timeline and deals with his own androids. But Gohan has since embraced the Defender of Earth moniker, and is well known for that. And also, Goten is born in the meantime. Well, I mean, it had to happen because Broly's rampage in movie 10 was because of Goten. And since Videl is in this timeline as well, and she and Gohan hook up, they're all out on a picnic with Goten and Trunks, and surprise, surprise, Broly is back with a vengeance. He had his Zenkai and is dead set on taking revenge on Gohan. TURLES chimes in to help too, whilst the whole climactic fight is widely televised because Gohan's a celebrity, and now all the Saiyans on Earth are celebrities. And this raw power attracts the attention of one Lord Jaguar as well. During the last stand, the combined might from all the Saiyans as well as Goku's help from beyond the grave, don't ask me how that worked, is able to thwart the Berserker once and for all. But then of course, Lord Jaguar just has to create his crazy clone, which means they need to fight Broly again. In this timeline, this is basically the Garlic Jr. saga. Few people want to remember it. The most notable thing about it? Krillin and Zangia are helping, and the Krill Dog is the one to behead the monster, with of course his Destructo Disc. Some time passes and villains have escaped from Hithel, attacking Earth, thanks to some bozo breaking a machine in the other world. Gohan and friends have to fight through legions of old foes, and after a while, Janemba himself comes through the portal. Whilst Gohan is able to fight the first form quite easily, when it transforms though, it dominates the young Saiyan and consumes him. Janemba and his demonic legion start to devour souls across the world, and in order to save the day, Goku is granted his one day out. He has some good results with Super Saiyan 3, but it does drain his energy almost completely, forcing him to return to the other world prematurely. Luckily for them though, Bulma manages to summon Shenron just in time to revive Goku for real so he can come back, since he isn't able to use Super Saiyan 3 for too long. He shares this information with TURLES about Metamorans, and the two learn how to fuse. They became Goreless and destroy Janemba, freeing all devoured souls. Goku then decides to stick around this time, as his training in the other world has made him stronger than ever, and the threats that endangered Earth seem to be too powerful for his friends to deal with on their own. Basically, these threats came whether Goku was here or not, so what difference did it make him going in the other world? He trains with his friends and everything seems fine for now. A year later though, they are asked for help by a wizard named Hoi. He tells them to open a music box containing a legendary hero named Tapion. And of course, our heroes need to resort to the Dragon Balls to do it. Yeah, basically the final part of the story is Wrath of the Dragon in all its glory, with TURLES here instead of Vegeta, and of course black-haired Trunks. The climactic final battle is finished with that iconic Dragon Fist, and Trunks gets his sword. So there you have it. Not having Vegeta in this did require some narrative gymnastics, but we did manage to keep 3 movies mostly intact. The biggest changes were Cooler replacing Freeza and Android 13 appearing to be a slightly stronger version of Cell. And yeah, we did rush through it a little bit, but it's like 15 movies, folks. And you know the stories already, so we kind of focused on other things. But like I said, if you want to check out my other video where I added the movies into the main timeline instead of replacing them, click here to learn more.